This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Carlo Bubilas, and I'll be your
This
moderator.
meeting is being recorded.
Today's session will be presented by Customer Success Specialist, CX Security, Alexandria Edwards, and Technical Marketing Leader, Cisco Security, Oksana Sanikova. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about today's session. Today's session will be recorded and made available on demand. We'll make sure to provide the details at the end, so make sure to stay tuned. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you are on WebEx and have a question for our speakers, please feel free to send it through the WebEx question and answer panel, where our wonderful panelists are ready to respond. For those tuning into our live stream, we thank you very much for joining in as well. Q&A is limited to those via WebEx. However, we will have a post-event Q&A thread over on the Cisco Learning Network community, where you can post any follow-up questions you might have. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming our first presenter. Alexandria, over to you.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Carlo. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today. Going to give you guys some exciting information about XDR automation and how it functions in playbooks. So let's go ahead and get things started. So as you can see in today's agenda, today we're diving into how XDR ties into incident response, getting the scoop on SecOps playbooks, crafting workflows for incident response, setting up automation rules for playbooks, and of course, seeing playbook automation in action with an awesome demo. Definitely. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get it started. So, we're kicking off our presentation with a quick look at how incident response works with Cisco XDR, as we can see here. So I know many of you have heard of XDR, but for those who might not be as familiar, you might be wondering, what exactly is XDR? So in a nutshell, Cisco XDR is designed to deliver powerful threat detection, investigation, and response capabilities. It does this by integrating with Cisco security products like Duo, Meraki, Secure Endpoint, and some other third-party solutions like CrowdStrike, Akamai, or Sentinel-1. These integrations help you see what's happening across your enterprise, providing rich insights and automating actions to make dealing with incidents much easier. Ultimately, the goal is to shorten the time attackers can remain undetected by pulling together data from multiple sources, giving you a complete view of any attack. So, let's take a closer look at what makes an XDR solution really effective. Now, first off, it's all about integrating data from multiple sources, not just endpoints. We're talking about gathering and analyzing information from endpoints, networks, emails, cloud services, identity systems, firewalls, you name it. All of these sources are essential for getting a complete picture of what's happening in your environment. Next, an effective XDR solution should use threat intelligence sources like Talos, asset and user context, and MITRE TTPs to give you a deeper understanding of the alerts you're seeing. And in today's world, it's crucial to harness the power of AI and machine learning. These technologies help analyze, correlate, and prioritize detections across the entire attack chain and affected devices. Now, as you can see from the slide, XDR covers all of these bases. It makes investigations more efficient by using techniques that reduce the time from detection to response, helping overcome the analysis paralysis that SOC analysts often face when they're overwhelmed with too much information and too many options. We've all been there, right? So XDR also prioritizes alerts, so SOC teams can zero in on events that pose the biggest threat to the organization, while filtering out the noisy and irrelevant ones. And of course, it offers automated response actions. This means threats can be swiftly mitigated and proactive steps can be taken to guard against future threats. Overall, Cisco XDR is a game changer for SecOps environments. It reduces the time spent on detecting and responding to security events by providing the critical information needed for detection, triage, investigation, and response. all in one place. With risk-based prioritization, you can focus on the most urgent incidents and access recommendations that help you quickly diagnose, contain, and of course, resolve the issues. Whoop whoop. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about what a playbook is and, you know, how can we build upon it? So I want us to all think of a playbook as a step-by-step guide for handling specific security incidents. Cisco XDR playbooks follow the SANS, EICER incident response model, which covers phases like identification, containment, eradication, and recovery. When we're building a playbook, each phase needs at least one task, and you can have up to 12 tasks per phase, right? So these tasks are there to help the incident response team to manage and effectively process security and resolve security issues effectively. They include triggers, events, and all of that awesome stuff, right? So let's go ahead. The good news is that Cisco XDR makes this easier because it allows us to integrate playbook creation, right? So when setting up a SecOps playbook to handle incidents, there are a few important things to keep in mind. First, figure out the specific type of incident you're tackling. What's the use case? Then define the triggers that will set the playbook in motion. This could be anything from spotting a suspicious login to detecting malware. After that, you'll want to outline the actions your team will take in response. You want to make sure each step is clearly detailed to avoid any confusion. Lastly, it's essential to test the playbook in a controlled environment to ensure everything works as it should, and you want to make improvements based on feedback that is received. Now, also, as Cisco XDR makes this easier by offering a customizable pre-built playbook right from the start. Now, the Cisco Managed Incident Playbook gives you a ready-made incident management workflow that you can use as a base when creating a custom playbook. While the Cisco Managed Incident Playbook itself is managed by Cisco and is read-only, you can duplicate it to create a custom version that you can modify. Now, just remember, the primary playbook you plan to use needs to be marked as the default playbook. You must remember that. So let's talk about the playbook editor and assignment rules. With the playbook editor, you can do a bunch of things. Check out playbook details, create new ones, tweak existing playbooks, duplicate and customize them, set a default playbook, and even delete playbooks if needed. Plus, you can see all the tasks included in each playbook. Now, once you've got a playbook ready, you can assign it using assignment rules. These rules automatically link playbooks to incidents based on certain conditions. In the playbook section of XDR, assignment rules help manage how playbooks get connected to new incidents automatically. By setting up custom conditions, you can make assignment rules that automatically pair a specific playbook with an incident whenever it meets those conditions. The assigned playbook will show up on the response page for that incident. If you don't set up any assignment rules, remember that the default playbook will be assigned to all new incidents. For instance, you could create an assignment rule that attaches a playbook designed for malware incidents to any new incident that fits certain malware-related conditions. This makes incident response more efficient by ensuring the right playbook is instantly tied to each incident type, right? Now that we've got a handle on playbooks and how they function, let's go ahead and dive into workflows, right? So Cisco XDR automation offers a super easy, no to low code way to create automated workflows. So if you don't know Python or feel a bit overwhelmed by programming, don't worry. Cisco XDR workflows have got you covered. We designed this with you in mind, of course. Now, these workflows can interact with all sorts of systems, whether they're from Cisco or other vendors. Think of these workflows like scripts in traditional programming, but without the complexity. They can be simple with just a few actions or quite intricate involving many actions across different products. Thanks to the drag and drop interface, you can easily design your own workflows triggered by schedules and events like new incidents, incoming emails, or webhooks. The possibilities are almost endless. You might be wondering why you would want to build a workflow in Cisco XDR. Well, there are plenty of advantages for your cybersecurity operations team, such as, the automation of repetitive tasks. This means more efficiency and speed, consistency and standardization. You'll have uniform responses and fewer human errors. Gotta love that. Improved incident response, rapid detection, mitigation, and prioritization of incidents based on severity and impact, ensuring the most critical threats, of course, are attacked first. All right, let's dive into workflow attributes, or as I like to call them, the nuts and bolts of the process. You'll find these attributes in the Automate section, and together they form the backbone for automating security processes within your workflows. You have runs. The runs view lets you check out previous workflow executions. Here you can see what a workflow is up to, whether it's currently running, and if it has failed or even succeeded. You can also get details on who ran them and other useful information. Then there's targets. In Cisco XDR, targets represents the device, identity, or resource a threat aims at. They're identified by observables like type, operating system, and other metadata when available. Targets are handy for managing workflows, fetching incident info, and more. You've got a default target group with all HTTP endpoints, system target group with HTTP endpoints in your tenant. Now, these groups let workflows dynamically pick targets during execution. And then there's account keys. An account key is a unique identifier that links integration source to a specific account, used in Cisco XDR for secure connections to an account. And then there's tasks. Tasks are linked to playbooks and help with incident response by offering recommended actions. They can be manually executed by a security analyst or automated through workflows. Then there's variables. Of course, these store and pass information between workflow activities. Variables can be global or workflow specific. The global variables stick around between runs or are shared across workflows. You manage them on the variables page in the automation menu. Types of variables include input, output, local, static, global, and environment, each with specific roles. They're also great for storing API keys and other sensitive information in your workflows that you might want to use. And last but not least, triggers. A trigger in Cisco XDR dictates when a workflow runs. It can be set to a specific schedule or activated by a certain event or incident. Yes. So in XDR automation, there are a few key components to keep in mind when creating a workflow. The workflow editor is where you can put together workflows, whether they're simple or complex, along with atomic actions and activities. You've got a toolbox here with 3 tabs to help you out. The first tab is all about your activities and atomic actions. The middle tab is where you dive into logic, using control structures to set conditions like, if this is true, do that. If something else is true, do something else. This is where you can add logic, loops, and other control elements to your workflows. The tab on the right is for workflows, letting you nest them within each other. This means you can have a main workflow that triggers multiple sub-workflows, giving you the flexibility to design workflows tailored, of course, to your needs. Now, this diagram here gives you a snapshot of how a workflow is set up. On the left side, you've got different triggers like API requests, approval tasks, email alerts, and pivot menus that can kick off the workflow. Once the workflow starts, it processes inputs using activities and atomic actions, doing things like collecting data, sending messages through WebEx, or pushing data to other places. As it works through these tasks, it might generate outputs that lead to a specific result. Now, towards the bottom, you'll see targets, along with a circular note about credentials that are managed by account keys. This overview gives you a sense of how a typical workflow operates. Now, you thought you had to whip up all those workflows on your own? Nope, I got you there. Cisco XDR Automation Exchange is here to save the day for you. It lets you easily discover and set up new automating workflows using a handy installation wizard. It's a breeze, I'm telling you. Just a few clicks to find curated content and get it up and running. Now, on the Exchange page, you can spot useful workflows and use the one-click install wizard to streamline the import process. You can even filter by products and check out popular workflows. Now, do you have a workflow you're proud of and think the community would love? You can submit it to the Exchange for publication, as long as you've got the right permissions. As an administrator and content author, you can create or edit a workflow, validate it, and send it in for publishing. Then the Exchange manager or content moderator checks it out, and if it's approved, it's published for everyone to install and use. The Exchange is definitely your one-stop shop for exploring tons of pre-built workflows. Now that we have that covered, let's discuss implementing automation rules. So, triggers and automation rules, right? Triggers are super helpful for automating those repetitive tasks, reacting quickly to incidents, and making sure that necessary actions are taken even when your security team can't jump in to handle every alert or incident. Cisco XDR offers two types of triggers. Now, when it comes to automation rules, they seamlessly combine triggers, trigger conditions, and workflows. You can set up a rule to decide when a workflow kicks into gear, like when something happens or on a set schedule. You can even add optional conditions. Some events that might use an automation rule include task approvals, email arrivals, new incident alerts from Cisco XDR, and webhook receptions. These rules are all about monitoring patterns and enabling automation based on policies. To clear things up, priority rules are the standard for incident rules. They help you organize rules by their importance compared to other prioritized incident rules. But if you use a standalone rule, it will always run the workflow if the conditions are met, stopping any other rule processing. Now let's compare approvals versus prompts. These are task types that help with getting user input or making decisions within a workflow. They automate responses and actions, but have some differences. So, of course, an approval task, it lets you set up an approval process within your workflows. It's mainly for getting users to approve or disapprove certain actions. Once you create an approval task, the workflow waits until someone makes a decision, either approve or reject the request. Now, prompt task. This asks for extra information from a user while the workflow is running. When the workflow hits a prompt task, it pauses until the user responds. Prompt tasks are handy for asking questions, making choices, or gathering more data to move forward. And just so you know, the status of these tasks shows if more action is needed to finish them or if they're done before the time's up. You can check each task's results in the action section. Now let's take a look at some ways automation can really make a difference in incident response. All right? Phishing attacks. You can automate a playbook to handle phishing emails, quarantining them, blocking the sender, and notifying users and admins. Malware infections. When malware pops up, automation can step in to isolate the affected systems, kick off a malware scan, delete the bad files, and restore the system from a backup. Unusual login activities. Automation in this route can spot unusual login attempts and respond by triggering extra authentication challenges or temporarily disabling the suspicious account. Data exfiltration. If there's a chance of data slipping out, automated actions can block certain IPs or domains, disable user accounts, and alert the security team. Vulnerability management. Automation helps with regular vulnerability scans, patch management, and generating reports to ensure quick action on any vulnerabilities found. DDoS attacks. Dun, dun, dun. During a DDoS attack, automation here can kick in immediately to block IPs, tweak firewall rules, and work with ISPs to manage the traffic. Now, every organization has its own needs and security setup, so tailoring automation playbooks to fit those specific needs is definitely key. So let's talk about some best practices and challenges you might want to keep in mind. When creating playbooks for security operations, it's crucial to have a solid understanding of your organization's security policies, incident response procedures, and overall threat landscape. Here are a few tips. Of course, you want to understand your environment. Get a clear picture of your organization's infrastructure, technology stack, and security tools. Keep playbooks simple and modular. Aim for clarity and simplicity so they're easy to understand and execute. You're going to want to regularly review and update your playbooks to keep up with ever-evolving security threats. Foster collaboration. Security is a team effort. That means you're going to involve IT, compliance, and other stakeholders to make sure playbooks are comprehensive and aligned with organizational policies. Now, despite the perks of all of this, there are some challenges to watch out for. Managing multiple playbooks can get complicated as you automate more tasks. It might feel quite overwhelming. Plus, dealing with false positives is tough. Sometimes automated systems flag harmless activities, causing alert fatigue. You'll also need to ensure playbooks interact smoothly with other systems and services, managing integrations effectively. And remember, the success of a playbook depends on the actions it includes. Figuring out which actions are crucial and putting them in the right order can definitely be a bit tricky. Now, here are some key points to remember, right? The Editor tab on the Playbooks page is your go-to spot for managing and customizing playbooks for your organization. When you start, you'll see the Cisco Managed Incident Playbook as the default, and it's assigned to new instance until you set a different default playbook. Remember, you'll need to publish playbooks before you can assign them to new incidents. You can integrate automated workflows right into the tasks of your incident response playbooks. Plus, the triggers automation rules feature lets you set conditions for kicking off your workflows. Don't forget, playbooks and automation are awesome tools for making things run smoother and minimizing mistakes. It's important to get a good grasp on how they can work and tailor them to suit your organization's needs, of course. All right, so looking for more ways to get support on your journey into this XDR automation type of thing, here you guys go. These slides will be presented afterwards and available for you guys, but you want to check out our services to learn more. And then also join other webinars and ATXs so that you can be further educated about the XDR journey. And if you're feeling stuck and need some help, no worries. Our fantastic TAC team is here for you 24/7 to assist you with any issues that you're definitely facing. Don't forget to utilize them. They are there for you. They are definitely there for you. And curious to learn, of course, again about more XDR? Here's where you're going to want to go. LearnXDR.cisco.com. You're going to log in with your CCOID username and password and sign up for the XDR Learning Path. Yes, it is free 99, so don't forget. You want to use this. It's totally free so that you can learn all you can about XDR. Alrighty, everyone. I thank you guys today for your time. Cisco fam, that's a wrap for me today. Now it's demo time with Oksana, what you've been waiting for. She's got some fantastic news to share that will definitely boost your XDR automation journey. Oksana, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Alex. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending our session today. We're happy to give you a demo walkthrough through several scenarios with leveraging Cisco XDR automation. I want to start by saying that the automation component of Cisco XDR is really ingrained in all of the features and capabilities to power the user experience and the SOC analyst experience to make it easier for you to to respond faster in an automated and guided way at the same time. So the first what we are going to look at is the demonstration, and I'll leave this link behind with you I'll drop it in the chat so that you can go and review all the steps that we're going through. So you don't need to read through the comments and notes here on this guided demo, but I will walk you through them and then answer any questions afterwards. So the first place where we get exposed to the automation, right, to the actions and response actions that are powered by XDR automation is when we start working on the incident. When working on the incident and we open the brand new incident, if you are part of the public beta with our AI assistant, which many customers are at the moment, you would be prompted by our AI assistant to walk you in a guided manner through the incident response playbook, right, where it suggests you one by one all the actions that you might want to take while investigating this incident. And here, these buttons here that you see actually that are prompting you for the next action, they are powered by XDR automation. Those are actually the automation workflows that Alex was talking about just now. Right, so that's one way when we get first exposed how automation and response capabilities are ingrained in our user experience. The second one, if you are maybe like a SOC tier or tier 2 SOC analyst, right, or you would like to walk through the playbook by yourself without leveraging the AI assistant, maybe you're not part of the beta preview yet, right, then you can, within the incident itself, you can pivot to the response tab where we get exposed to that SANS incident response playbook framework that Alex was talking about just earlier, right? And here we see anywhere where we see the execute button, this is the workflow powered activity, which will actually make an automated action when you click this button. So an example could be if we go to containment stage and we want to contain some of our assets, meaning block those assets with our endpoint detection and response platform. And just to remind everyone, we do integrate with all of the major vendor EDR platforms of the world. Cisco XDR is EDR platform agnostic. And when you click on this action, you actually don't need to the analysts don't need to have that additional context on what are the solutions that are integrated. The workflow is smart enough by itself to go check for all the integrations that are available with Cisco XDR. Go check within each integration whether there is an endpoint. This endpoint exists over there and what actions are available. So in this case, you will see that our integration with Sentinel-1 has been noted that there is no, for this integration, there is no asset with this name, but then we were able to successfully isolate the asset within Cisco Secure Endpoint. So those workflows has been already pre-built for you. Those are system workflows, right? They're just powering your experience and the operations. And then the result of the workflow run will be saved in the work log, and then you can pivot into view my results, and you can see that it was successfully executed. You can see the full run step by step of the workflow and check all the steps that has been taken. So next, what you can do is, like, if we look at this specific workflow, right, that I mentioned, this contain assets, that was the system workflow that has been provided. So you see here, the owner is system, which is we wrote this workflow for you. You can also build your own workflows if you want, right? So if you choose to build your own workflow, you would click on create workflow, and then you will be presented with different templates. Meaning, if you use this template, a lot of information will be already pre-configured for you. So if we choose the pivot menu action, which, like, if you click on the observable, it will bring up the menu of action, and that action will be available as part of that contextual menu. This is the workflow we are going to build. So this workflow will isolate the endpoint, will follow the same sort of example that we already started upon. And we will use IP and host name, for this matter, as input observables. Once we configure that, we will be moved into the open canvas page. So on the right-hand side, you will see all of the different parameters that already pre-configured for this workflow. And on the left-hand side, you will see different actions that are available. And here you will see we have a huge library. It's over 500 different activities right now for Cisco solutions such as Secure Access, Meraki, Cisco Orbital, Cisco Email Threat Defense, etc. But also for third-party solutions such as CrowdStrike, Cohesity, Darktrace, like ExtraHop, Jump Pro, etc. So all of those different little activities that you can use in this workflow that you're building to do different actions and integrate across multiple different solutions, and potentially bring multiple different activities into one-click action that will be available for your analysts. So that's the flexibility and the power of the automation platform to make your analysts much more efficient by leveraging it. So the only thing we need to configure here is the target, where we indicate that we need to send those API calls to Cisco API, Cisco endpoint API integration. And this target already pre-configured. So when we enabled integration in Cisco XDR, all of those settings has already been done for us. All we need is just open up the drop down and select the right target to use. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to drag and drop these activities from right-hand side. And then for this activity, which is get endpoint ID by provided IP or host name, we will provide the value of as an input, right? The input variable that we have configured at the beginning of this flow. And then next, what we will need to do is we will add an additional action, right? Sorry about that. Let me just make it smaller a little bit. We will add an additional action from this list, which will actually isolate the endpoint using its ID information. And again, it's very intuitive. So it tells you that some configuration is missing. So you actually need to have this ID. We fetched this ID in the previous activity. So all we need is just to connect those two activities together. So once we connect those two activities together, we see all we need to do is validate the workflow. And once we validate, the action becomes available in our user interface. So I clicked on the IP address in my incident, and that brought up this contextual menu, which allows me just to click on this action and isolate the endpoint. Now, I could also send an email address and create a ticket and open a triage WebEx space and do maybe block this AP in the firewall, etc., using all of those different API activities from our library to actually execute multiple actions with single click. So now we're just validating that the workflow ran successfully and everything was executed successfully. And that's how you can build your own workflows. Now, do you have to build the workflows for every use case? Certainly not, because we also have an exchange, which is a portal where you can find Cisco created workflows or workflows that were created by our technology partners, which are called Cisco Verified. or the workflows that are created by our customers like yourselves, right? Where you can actually choose whichever workflow you want to leverage using the authorship type, right? And then you will see that there are a lot of submissions that has been done by our customers as well on the use case and the automations that they created. So it's a huge growing community, which allows you to look for inspiration, use those workflows. You can clone and modify them if you want to, but we'll go through example of just getting one of those workflows installed in our environment. In this case, we are using a workflow to create a WebEx space for a new incident. Once we open it up, it checks all the configurations, all the integrations that are necessary as prerequisites, and it tells us this is already enabled, you're good to go. You can just go click and install the workflow. So once we click install, it is asking us for some default parameters to configure. For example, we want specific people to be included by default in every single WebEx space that we create for every new incident. So, or we want to create a prompt message that will be posted inside the WebEx space, etc. So all of those default parameters can be configured here. And once we do that, we can also automate it further and let this workflow run upon the new incident coming in without like having to click anything. So we will look at that automation action in just in a little bit. But what I want to show you first, right, when we actually looking at this automation rule, right, is when we configure this, right, it is going to be saved with the workflow right here. And I'll show you the exact steps to configure that rule in a little bit, right? So again, if we want this rule to be available and run this workflow when the incident is created automatically, then it is part of the initial setup. But we'll look at in the moment how to configure it. So speaking of which, when we look at these automation rules, there are two different types to do it. We can use different conditions. For example, if it's a high severity incident, or if there is several different MITRE techniques that has been associated. So we can use different attributes of the incidents and conditions to kick off those different actions, or we can use it by default. So in this example, by default, for every new incident, we will have a new notification WebEx space created. But you can also see there are examples of some different rules that can be applied. And then once this is done, when the incident comes in, the workflow executed automatically. So the WebEx room will be created automatically without us touching anything. And then this action will be recorded in the work log. Right, so every action will be recorded in the workflow. So when the analyst actually opens the incident, they will see what actions has been already done. And then finally, what we're going to look at is, speaking of that SANS response playbook for the incident that we were looking at earlier, right? Prepare, contain, eradicate, and so on. Right, we are able to add custom actions to those playbooks as well. So what we are going to do is we're going to look at the default playbook, incident response playbook that was provided by Cisco. When we clone it, we are able to make a copy of that playbook and modify it. So once we start, right, like this is where we're duplicating it. Once we modify it, we give it a different name, and then we can go to each of those different tabs, such as like identification stage, for example, and we can add a custom task, which we call create WebEx space for investigation. And then within the task, we will include the workflow. This is our workflow that we installed from the Exchange, create WebEx for new incident. And then we just click save, and that task will be added to our playbook. Here you see the task was added. And then once we publish this playbook, it will be available for all new incidents that are coming in. Now, again, you may ask this question, is it going to apply to all incidents, or can those rules be flexible? Of course, we're providing you with rules as well. So for different types of incidents, you may want to use different response workflows, right? Different response playbooks. In this case, if the score of the incident is over 900, then we definitely want to create a new, we want to use this new incident response playbook that we created, right? So for high risk incidents, this playbook is going to be applied. For phishing incidents, for example, there might be another playbook applied. So you can use different conditions based on incident properties, based on regex expressions, like regular expressions based on different sources of the incident, et cetera, et cetera. So the rules are very, very flexible, allowing you to tweak the tooling to match your security operations needs, basically, right? You can also set this playbook as default. So by default, it may be applied to all of the incidents that are coming in, unless there are specific rules, right? And unless that are matched. So this is a quick overview of how XDR automation is actually ingrained into different tasks and capabilities that are leveraged by SOC analysts in their daily task as they're using Cisco XDR. And this is how you can take it to the next level and really customize it to match your needs and really make it work for your security operations to make them more efficient. Alexandria, over to you.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much, Oksana. That was truly awesome. And I know that customers are definitely going to enjoy that click-through demo that they can go through over and over and over again to practice to make perfect. Alrighty.
And I
So
just posted it to the chat.
Go ahead, click on it, everybody. Save that link. Save that link, but it also will be available afterwards. But right now, it is time for live Q&A. It is time for live Q&A. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and feel free to post them in the chat, and then we'll answer them as they come along. And in the meantime, again, here are some other resources that you guys can go through to help you get to learn XDR and automation. Of course, here there's the XDR Help Center, which is full of a plethora of information. And then my favorite one, of course, is the XDR DevNet Labs. There they have automation labs that you can go through to help you get familiar with how to build workflows, how to understand APIs and how they work within XDR, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely recommend that you all check that out. And then, of course, if you need premium and enhanced support, you can go ahead to the software support service, and that will give you some more information about what is offered for premium and enhanced support with regards to XDR. And then, of course, if you'd like to continue the conversation, say you haven't had enough, you can always visit the XDR community thread, and go ahead and post your conversations that you have there and mix and mingle with other alike folks. All right.
Alex, I want to address the question that just came in regarding on-premise support. Cisco XDR takes a lot of different telemetry sources, right? You can, the data lake is cloud-based, but you can send syslogs, net flows, security events, all sort of different telemetry to Cisco XDR data lake for analysis and for detection purposes. For XDR automation, we do offer an opportunity to install an on-premise like little VM, right? Which will serve as your automation connector so that you can actually send API requests to your on-premise solutions that support REST API, and SSH connector is included as well. And that little appliance, once installed in your on-premise environment, will make a connection to Cisco XDR in the cloud, like outbound connection, right, on a specific port and interface, right, like that communication will happen so that when needed, the Cisco XDR workflow, when it knows that it needs to communicate with the target on-premise, is going to send API requests down that channel. So that's essentially like technically how that is going to work. I hope that answers the question from Vitaly.
Awesome. I did see another question a little bit before. Osman asked if they can find that information on XDR automation on the DevNet site. Is that something that you can elaborate on? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, you definitely can find more information about XDR automation on the DevNet site. Again, they have some awesome automation and learning labs there that you can go through as much as you want. You're just going to log in using your CCUID username and password. It's free to you, so you can go ahead and play around with it and get to know how to do everything step by step in a sense.
Thank you. And then another question from Dan came in about towards the beginning of the presentation. Dan mentioned triggers have the same description as the targets. Is this a coincidence?
Let me look. I may have flubbed on the slide.
Yeah, I think there was a little typo on the slide, which we addressed with Dan. But yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Thanks, Dan.
Awesome. And then as a common question that comes in is if the session is recorded and will the slides be available? And yes, the session is being recorded. It's actually being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. We'll have an edited version where it's more organized into manageable chunks, maybe like 10 to 15 minute chunks. Over on the Cisco Learning Network, it typically takes about 3 to 5 business days, but the live stream will be made available. The live stream recording itself will be made available for playback immediately after the session ends. The slides, along with that information, will be provided in the chat. And for those who have registered, they'll get an email pointing them back to that post-event discussion thread over on the Cisco Learning Network, where it will list all the different resources along with the slides. Okay. Oh, and yeah, Dan replied back, says, I can live with this. In regards to that coincidence. Okay, cool. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions coming in. Oksana, for you, do you have anything to say before we wrap up?
Well, just as a closing thought, I would like to encourage everyone to become those automation champions in your organization. Think about those production grade systems like, the built-in automation component within Cisco XDR that allow you to bring automation to like your organization-wide level, and think about it as a like efficiency tool for your whole organization. I think it's very powerful and very flexible. And yeah, we're here available always to answer any questions. So we'll follow the post-webinar page for any follow-up questions. So yeah, let us know how else we can help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to you, Alex. Any closing remarks?
I totally agree with Oksana. Definitely become the XDR automation champions within your organization. I know there may be some growing pains a little bit, but you're going to be so much better and so much thankful that you did it and went through it and know so much about it. Even if some of your coworkers keep coming to you and bothering you about it. But hey, that's a part of the game. So I hope that everybody has an awesome rest of your week.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So again, I want to thank our presenters, our panelists, and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community. Again, if you have a question, we'll keep the Q&A window open for a couple more minutes, but you can also just jump onto the post-event discussion thread where you can continue the collaboration. For even more tutorials, demonstrations, and future events, please do visit the Cisco Learning Network. That link is in the chat. You can actually browse to that post-event discussion thread to just go directly to the page. All right. Your feedback is important, and at this time, you'll be directed to a survey. We do encourage you to take the time to participate. Once again, we thank everyone for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.